So, as you could tell from the intro, I have built my Nether Hub. This was actually inspired from Hollow Knight. It's a game I just recently started playing and have gotten really addicted to. I think the artwork in that 2D style type of game was just phenomenal, and especially the gothic type of architecture that was drawn in the game. So I kind of took some inspiration from that and decided to do like this big tower. I incorporated some white accents to it, which I think obviously goes well with just the darker tone. Yeah, I did my best to try and make, the arches very smoothed out. And I don't normally do this type of style of building, but I think I did a good job for my first time sort of doing this kind of style. I particularly like the layering here. So you've got walls here, and then goes to blocks, and then a wall of walls. So you have this smoothed out sort of transition here, which I think looks nice. And then up here where my crosshair is, there's a bit of a slope. Right, it's not just flat and then up. And then with the arches, I tried to use the glass to bring out the wall. I think that was a neat thing to use the glass there. And I'm sure there's probably different ways that it could be done. I just haven't really seen what other builders have done when it comes to this kind of style. So I'll probably browse around a bit and see what other people are doing and how they're getting these arches to look, smooth and stuff. I mean, obviously, scale is a big factor in this. How big you're making it will determine how smooth you can make that edge or those arches or anything like that. And I'm not a particularly large scale kind of builder, but it's not something I'm opposed to. I just kind of feel intimidated about, tackling something like that. But yeah, so this is how I designed this to work. So under here we've got powdered snow. And so this will be like the dropping area because the portal's going to be up there. But I wanted a cool, fun way to kind of get from below and back up. So I'm using dispensers and wind charges to just launch right up. And it's like the perfect amount to actually get myself up on here. But yeah, so the nether portal is here. And it's just sort of attached through just some sort of design that I made. I don't really know what I was going for here, but I didn't want it to just be flat, and I didn't want it too connected. I wanted some accent pieces here, so that's what I ended up doing. And then this window here I really like. So it's kind of hard to tell when you're looking this way, but from the side here you can see the gradient. Yeah, then to get down you just fall on through. So in today's chapter we're gonna focus on the design for the Nether Highway. So in each of these directions, we're just going to have an ice path going out where we can dispense boats and just ride along them to get to, the different portals that we have set up. Normally I would just fly, but for example, over here, which this isn't a far distance to fly, I have my gold farm and bartering farm, and then just villagers here that I trade rotten flesh for. And then way down here, this is far to fly, this distance here, I have an entrance to Wither Skeleton Farm. This can take me a bit to travel, and I don't know what other future places or portals, farms that I'll have on the roof. So that's why I'm just gonna end up going with a boat ice path highway system. So instead of just like laying out ice and putting some sort of railing and just having it look super boring, I wanted to try and implement this Gothic style architecture into the paths. And I still want to keep it somewhat simple. Obviously, like, to get to that wither farm is gonna, take an immense amount of resources to just lay out the path down there. But I think in between every so often we'll create sort of, arches or maybe a small little tunnel or something just along the path. Maybe at certain like intersections, like over here, for example. Right, we have one portal over there, which I think is to my end portal. And then going down this path here is to a portal that has a cherry biome and an ice biome right next to each other. So, like, this would be an intersection where you can split off. So maybe we can design, a nice looking intersection. Yeah, I just wanted to implement a bit more architecture into the actual highway path and not just like a plain little road. What I'm thinking is we'll hop into the creative world and play around with a couple of different designs. Okay, here we are in the creative world, and this is what I got so far. So what I want to do is just have like sections of pavilion. Maybe pavilion's not the right term, but just at intersections or every X amount of blocks, sort of vestibules maybe is the better term. But yeah, so the idea is you come down, and then I'll probably have like one sign here that indicates the direction, and then maybe another sign that just indicates what is in that direction. So like a portal to a desert or a particular farm or something like that. And then I just created this system here where we'll fill this up with boats, and then as you slide in the boat, since it's a bigger hitbox, clips the cactus, gets destroyed and recycled into the dispenser. And then whenever you want a boat, you just click it and it should pop out. So just a neat way of storing the boats so you can easily dispense them. But yeah, so the overall design for this, I wanted something that was like almost spiky. So there is, I forgot some here. Since this is mainly inspired from Hollow Knight, there's a lot of like different areas within the game that have, like parkour. So it's like a 2D platform game. So as you're traversing up, there are like entrances to different halls and stuff, and the cover of those entrances or the roof of them usually have some sort of roof with a spike. And obviously if you jump on the spike, you get pricked. So I wanted to kind of do something like that, and I thought maybe candles give off the best. But I'm thinking maybe we try like a gray candle, because I want it to be a bit more like a shiny point. Anytime you see in like an animation when they want to show like a sword or something that's pointy and sharp, they have it be like shiny. So that's kind of what I want to go for here. And I think the gray candles probably look better for that. Yeah, the black blends too much there, so. Okay, so I think that gets the idea across. So we'll extend this out here like this just for now. And one thing I want to design first is the intersections, so I can get an idea of how many blocks are from the start here all the way to the intersection, so that I can evenly distribute the different arches that we can build. Okay, so we made it just 70 long and then 71 long. So right here in the middle is where we'll put like the first arch. We can pretty much do the same thing in each direction. so that we have at least the beginning part of each of the entrances would look somewhat symmetrical. And then as you kind of go out into one direction, then we can kind of branch out without having to have things be even. But since there aren't many portals close to this one, we can kind of go farther out and keep like a same design in each direction. And then from there we can just sort of branch out, if that makes sense. But yeah, so let's see what kind of blocks we can use. I don't want to use blackstone. I want to do an accent color to it. So I'm thinking maybe we do a bit of deep slate just to keep the overall theme of it being darker. And then we can add some quartz, I think. So maybe we can make this 3 wide. Maybe down the middle we can do quartz. Let's go 3 high. Then the 4th one, we'll go in like that. You know what? I think diorite would be better. Because it feels more of like a silvery kind of white. The quartz looks just too clean. I kind of want it to look like a, you know, like a stainless steel or like a dirty white kind of color. I wonder why we don't have polished diorite walls. I feel like that's something we should have. Same with like andesite and granite. I guess maybe they just wouldn't be too different from this. I don't know. Sometimes there are things in here that are missing that you just kind of wonder why. But I'm sure there probably is some sort of valid answer for it. And so we can add shelves here to make this a bit smoother, this angle here. And then we could probably go even smoother by adding... I was going to say by adding a trapdoor, but maybe putting it here is better. Or putting a shelf there is better. Glass could also be useful. That's definitely smoother, you know, you can see going up there like that. And then if you were to kind of like just ignore this part of the glass, or just ignore the glass as a whole, then you could see that it kind of goes up like that in these smaller increments. And then it kind of gets larger down here. I mean, I'm okay with it for now. Let's keep detailing and see how it looks at the end. And I'm kind of just like doing some random stuff. Like it's not, there's no really inspiration for this. I'm just kind of saying what I like. I forgot about candles. Candles also help make that a little pointy. Oh, maybe that's what I was missing. Putting a piece of glass here extends this wall out so it basically lines up with that stair. And I think that looks a bit cleaner. Then we can add a shelf here. Or maybe trapdoor would be better there. Yeah, that's good. And then for the spikes effect, we can do that with an iron bar and a candle on top. Maybe we should do the gray candle. Have it match a little better with the iron bar. I mean, I like it. It's something simple just to kind of help, you know, add some detail to the track here. Yeah, I think I like it. Something simple, clean. Yeah, so we'll just add a couple of these throughout the paths, just to kind of help break that up. And then let's get working on an intersection idea. So that's what we can do for the intersections. And then same thing, we can add some spikes. Maybe the white candles work better here. If I'm going to use a soul torch, I think I should get rid of the sea lanterns. I think that looks a lot better. Kind of matches the same light level as the other arch there. So, all right, cool. I'm happy with this. This actually turned out a lot better than I thought it was. So that's what we'll do for intersections. And then in between intersections, we can add these little arches in the middle. And I think that'll be a pretty cool little highway system. And so this would kind of be the Nether Hub here. Yeah, it's not too bad. We could also add just like other stuff here in between, like in each of these quadrants. I wouldn't put a portal here because it's obviously too close to my main one, so this is just kind of a blank canvas. So if you guys have any suggestions on what we can add in each of these quadrants, open to hearing what you guys have to offer. Okay, so back in the survival world. Oh yeah, I've added one of my models that I've been kind of working on. So I've been playing around with like building different items in Blockbench. I find it fun to work on different designs for helmets, just to add a bit of uniqueness or personality to my character, and just, you know, a different way to kind of express myself. So in Spirited Away in the bathhouse, there's or I think it's in Spirited Away, I could be wrong, but there's like a scene with, like, I think it's a duck that has like a giant like drip leaf or like monstera leaf or something that's like on top of their head. I thought that would be pretty cute to just kind of create a giant leaf and wear it as like a helmet. So I built the model for it and did all the texturing and everything. It's essentially just adding a different texture to the helmet. So it's still a netherite helmet, it just has a different texture. And you know, this is what it looks like when I hold it. And so yeah. So this one I also made. So around December time, you'll see me wearing this little Santa hat that I made. This is one of my favorites. I made this after I finished Vinland Saga. And then I did a Hollow Knight mask, but I forget what I called it. Hollow Knight helm. Yeah. This one took me a while, but I think this one's pretty cool. Instead of a hat, I sort of made a mask. This one doesn't sit on my head, but rather on my shoulder. I don't know if there's something that I can configure to make a helmet sit on my body instead, but because it's on my head, it follows where my head moves. So that's why I don't really use it, but I like the idea of like my helmet being just calcifer on my shoulder. So this is what it looks like. It's more 3D than 2D. So yeah, it's also just another way for me to, you know, express my creativity and just myself in general, to be more artistic and sort of hone in on that part of me. So Okay, so at least we got the tower in here, which was the biggest lift. And now that we have a design for the pathways, intersections, and the arches and everything, I'll get those built over time as we start to connect everything up together. But yeah, that'll be all for this episode. I'll catch you guys in the next one.